Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze, Breezeway Productions, The Breeze. Where we are happy to have our coverage of this year's 2021 Bentonville Film Festival, and we're excited to kick off our interviews for the festival this year with Christopher Chambers with his film A Fire Within. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great. We're really excited to be at Bentonville this year. Thanks for having me.
Right on, right on. Tell us a little bit about A Fire Within.
So, A Fire Within is a documentary about an extraordinary story. It's a story about three women who are originally from Ethiopia and they're survivors of torture. They immigrated to the United States and Canada as refugees. And in 1989, one of the women moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and she started a job as a waitress at the Colony Square Hotel, which is an iconic building in Midtown Atlanta. When she started her job, she met her coworkers like everybody does. And one of the coworkers she met was the dishwasher. And when he said hello, she felt something in the pit of her stomach. And she realized she recognized that voice. And that was the voice of the man who was her interrogator and torturer a dozen years earlier back in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So this is the extraordinary story, not just of this shocking coincidence, but of what followed afterwards, which is these three women who are both survivors of torture, who are courageous and strong and resilient. They came together and they made a pact to try to find a way to bring their torture to justice in America. And that's the journey we take you on with A Fire Within.
Wow. That was quite a breakdown right there. You know this film in and out. Wonderfully said. Tell me a little bit about how you came upon this project. This is based on a true story. Did you?
This is 100%. I mean, that's what's so amazing about this story. When I tell people this story over the past few years when I've been making it, I'm constantly interrupted. People say, "Wait, I'm sorry, you're writing this?" Because my first film behind me, Aram Aram, is a drama. It's fiction. I come from a fiction movie background. But no, this is an absolutely true story. And the story of how I came upon it is sort of the question of like, do you choose a project or does a project somehow come and choose you? And basically, I got very lucky with this film. It was small indie, but we were able to tour across America, Canada, win some awards. We went on Netflix. We've screened it all the way in Australia. And on the flight back from Sydney, like everybody, I'm sitting on the plane for hours and hours and hours, nothing to do. And I go on my laptop and I go through those articles. You know, you have those articles that have been sitting on your laptop for like 6 months because you've been meaning to read them, but you haven't got around to it. Eventually, those go in a folder and those go in the trash later and you never read them. So I was going through those, and one of them was an article about this case that I had somehow run across and saved it. And as I was reading it on the plane that day, my jaw dropped. One, because of the extraordinary coincidence that I told you about, and then for the things I'm not going to tell you about, which are in the film that you'll have to see the film to find out, but about the women's journey. And honestly, I thought, well, this is extraordinary. Why don't I know about this? Especially like I love American history. I love stories that are powerful like this. And I said, oh, well, it's a shame, but you know, I am white guy from the Valley of LA. I'm not Ethiopian. I'm not a woman. I'm not their generation. I'm not the person to tell a story. I don't have insights into this. And I was busy trying to make my another film, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's what I mean. It's like, I don't know if it wouldn't let go of me or my subconscious wouldn't let go of it. And finally, about in 2017, I just couldn't shake it. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to try to reach out to these women and ask them, like, would you be open to being interviewed so we can help other people learn about your journey? And that began a 4-year odyssey that took me from Ethiopia to Canada to 10 cities in America and next to Bentonville.
Wow, that's quite a story. This really is like a baby project to you. So you've like raised it and nurtured it, and that I could tell how much passion you have for it from the way you talk about it. When you were casting the project, did you have to look for people that understand the culture and this type of experience when you were acting with them? Obviously, serious, dramatic actors and actresses from that part of the world.
Yeah, that's a great, very insightful question. So what's unusual about this as a documentary is we use the language of movies. It's a very cinematic, at least our intention is to make it very cinematic. We have archival footage and we have interviews, but we also film these sequences. So we want our audiences to feel like they're in a movie, meaning it's not like dry information. It's not a history lesson. It's an emotional journey, which is what I love about movies. You turn it on and you forget where you are and you get sucked in. So we had to film recreations in America for various sequences, but also I went to Ethiopia And in Ethiopia, we hired all Ethiopian crew. We did all of our casting out of there. We cast young actresses and actors out of Addis Ababa University. And we actually filmed the recreations of the women's arrest, interrogation, torture. I was able to find the original buildings that it happened in. So we went to this government building that now is very peaceful, a government building that serves the people. But at the time, it had been used for interrogation and torture. And we were able to find, with my producer, Ermis Waldi-Amlak, to find the locations, and we were able to find a way to film in them. And that was extraordinary. But also in America, there's a very important moment in the film. You know, this is about survivors of abuse coming forward and telling what happened to them. And that's universal for anyone who's survived any kind of abuse, how terrifying and scary and intimidating that can be. And in this story, the torturer publicly said these women are liars, which is sort of the worst thing you can imagine. If you came forward and you said this thing that you've been keeping private, you have shame about it, even though it's not your fault. And so he basically said publicly and loudly, these are a bunch of liars and they're looking for attention. And so there's a moment in the film that happened in real life where the Ethiopian community of Atlanta showed up and sat behind the women to show their support for them. So we shot a recreation of that, because that gives me chills even now. It's a wordless show of support to say these women are telling the truth. We are behind them. And we were shooting a recreation of that. And you know, again, I'm a white guy, not part of the Ethiopian community, didn't at the time have friends in the Ethiopian community. Now I have many. And so I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because I'm not going to cast this like you normally would. I'm not going to just find a bunch of people from the African-American community and make them look Ethiopian. That's not what this film's about. So I found a woman, Elsa Ademe, who's a casting director, and she came on board to be my casting director. And she's Ethiopian, and she has a film association called the Habesha Film Association. And she went into the community and she cast 50 actors of all generations. And that day when we had filming, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to be a complete mess. And all these, you know, beautiful, proud Ethiopians, from Ethiopians who were born here, who were in their 20s to 60, 70 years old, came walking in and became part of this scene. And it's a long story, but I'll try to shorten it. And while we were filming it, I noticed an older woman, beautiful older woman, really well dressed. She was crying. And I thought, oh God, you know, I'm such a jerk. Like, we've been filming for so long. She's in pain because we're sitting for, you know, filming is so tedious and her body probably hurts. So I went over to her, so I'm sorry, like, do you need a break? And she grabbed my hand and she said, I was there during that period. I was a witness. My friends and family were killed and tortured. And now you're telling our story. And it just blew me away. And so that scene to me is one of the most meaningful. And you're right. If we didn't cast it in this way, which is a lot harder, the film would be, I think, a lot less powerful.
Oh, well, that is an amazing story to showcase to the world, that a lot of people resonate in that section of Ethiopia. You're able to find them. Obviously, they share the pain of what happened, and now you're being able to showcase it to the world. How long did this film take you to make?
So naively, I thought it was going to take about a year, and it's been a 4-year journey. Part of that is because it's very epic in scope for a documentary, filming in literally going to Ethiopia for a whole month, navigating government channels, filming all these interviews, filming recreations, which is much more complicated than, you know, than just using archival. And also, it's really boring, but it's true. We just kept running out of money.
Yeah. So, I understand. You got to keep refilling the gas tank. You got to keep that train moving when you're having a production, and you got to get through post, and then after you finish it up, then you got your festival run, which also costs its own amount for submissions to these fests. And congratulations once again on your acceptance to Bentonville for A Fire Within. Sounds like a great project. And in closing, is there anything that you'd like to say to the Bentonville Film Festival organization?
Yeah, I just think this story is really important to inspire the future generation of human rights warriors. So college kids, young adults, law students, and to empower other survivors of abuse of any kind, because these women are evidence that you can come forward, you can speak your truth, and you can fight to make the world a better place by trying to bring those who perpetrated that injustice upon you to justice. And I think that's a universal and profoundly powerful reminder about what our American values should be. and originally were. We're screening on Thursday, the August 5th. And if anyone has any questions, you can always reach out to us at A Fire Within Doc. On Facebook, it's at A Fire Within Doc. On Instagram, at A Fire Within Doc. Because I've noticed people always have questions. They always want to talk about the story afterwards. And I just want to say thank you to the Ethiopian community that supported us. I'm Seganalu, and thank you to Bentonville. And thank you, Alex. It's really a privilege to be on your show. I appreciate it.
Wow.